We're talking about childhood experiences and how they have shaped how we show up in adulthood. Most of the time when we talk about trauma, about childhood trauma, we focus on what happened, but we don't focus on what did that change in us. The first one is what we call emotional dysregulation, where you're finding yourself in a place where emotionally wise, you have difficulty controlling or rather managing your emotions. Another one that is very, very common is people pleasing. You find yourself that you believe that I have to do something to be wanted, and if I don't do anything, I would not be wanted in this. Hello, welcome to Rhodah Speaks Hope podcast. It's my honor to have you and to welcome you here, where we have conversations around mental health and wellness. And I am a believer in holistic wellness, where we take care of our mind, our body, and even our spirit. We believe in holistic wellness. And for us to start this journey together, we have to go back all the way to where it all began, in our childhood. And that's why today we're talking about childhood experiences and how they have shaped how we show up in adulthood. And it may be in workplaces, in our relationships, and all of that. And just to help us understand, trauma is, an event that happens that is very distressing, and it becomes very, for your mind to comprehend, it's very difficult, and also you find difficulty in coping. So, karibu sana. Other than just, most of the time when we talk about trauma, about childhood trauma, we focus on what happened, but we don't focus on what did that change in us. What is it that experience changed in you? Maybe you grew up with parents, unfortunately, who are not emotionally available for you. And maybe they didn't know that they're supposed to be emotionally available for you. Or maybe they were overly harsh, or punishment was just very, very, very harsh. And you may have even normalized it. But to you, you're just like, all of us, we grew up being punished by our parents. But really, when you look back now, you find yourself walking in it's like your life is just walking on eggshells each and every time, even if it's not your parent who is walking with you. Or maybe, unfortunately, you also grew up being compared to your siblings or even to your cousins or somebody else who was in the household, and nothing was ever good enough. Even if it was your performance or your dressing or even your looks, or you also you grew up in an environment where you witnessed domestic violence at home, and that environment shaped how you show up right now, where you may find yourself that you don't believe in safe relationships, or even where you may be experiencing abuse and you have just decided that this is life, this is what I know, and it is okay, and you have normalized it, and that's what you have sat with. And then you may have, grown up in poverty and maybe a lot of instability. And one thing about trauma that we need to understand is that one person may have the same experience, but doesn't have the effects that you have. So you may even be one household, but then your sister didn't see anything traumatic with how you were brought up. Maybe like growing in poverty, and to your sister or to your brother was like, say, ni kawaida, we move on with life. But maybe to you, that affected you a lot because maybe you lacked some of the basic needs. Maybe it was quality education or even food and even good shelter. And maybe that also is coupled with how maybe the people who are taking care of you, or rather your caregivers, how did they take it? How are they communicating in that particular season? Were they keeping on telling you, oh, Sisi, we are poor, we'll never amount to anything? Or were they caregivers who are instilling hope in you, telling you that this experience will not last forever. If you work hard, God will help us at some point, and we will overcome. That also now differs, on how someone shows up in adulthood, because someone else grew up in poverty, but they turned out all right. Someone else grew up in poverty, but they turned out in a very different way. So, and of course, now there's now the aspect of loss, where you may have had a very important loss when you were young, and of course now the part of where especially firstborns or children who are, wale ambao mmeanza, you may find yourself that you started parenting very early, and your siblings were left to you to take care of them. What we call parentification, and that has shaped how you show up in life. You may even show up in a way that you control everybody around you, at work, at home. People just feel like, oh, our mom is very controlling, or our dad is very controlling. And it's not like you're really controlling, it's just that you grew up and that's all you know how to do. All you know how to do is just how to take care of people around you. So these are just but a few of the examples that of the situations that we find ourselves in during our childhood. And now, how does this experiences now show up in our adulthood? Just to break them down. And the first one is what we call emotional dysregulation, where you're finding yourself in a place where emotionally wise, you have difficulty controlling or rather managing your emotions. And look at this. For someone who's been brought up by caregivers who are very present emotionally, this person knew and learned how to manage emotions. They know how to express themselves, they know how to manage their emotions, compared to, on the flip side, when someone has been brought up by parents who are emotionally unavailable. You find that person finds it difficult. Like, do I express myself? Do I cry? What do I do? And it's a whole roller coaster. And that now goes to where someone finds themselves overthinking. Because sometimes you don't even know, what am I supposed to think? What am I supposed to feel, And so sometimes you may overthink before you start doing a task. So that is a few things about emotional regulations. And also you find yourself struggling with a lot of anger. And anger is one of the strongest emotions. And knowing how to manage it is not easy. And maybe you've even tried to go to an anger management class, which we also provide. But you find that even after having all this knowledge, you're still not able to manage this anger. Why? Because the root cause is pale chini in your childhood. Maybe because a lot was bottled up, you are not taught to express, or maybe you expressed and you are shut, and this may even happen like in our workplaces, where you may have a supervisor or you may have a manager who gives feedback. Actually, maybe it's selective negative feedback, and to one employee it may come out as okay, that's just feedback and it's okay, next time I'll do better. But to another person it will come out as this is just rejection. The manager just didn't like me, he doesn't like my work, he thinks I'm not good enough, and all of that. And now, at times, you actually now, after you see how the other people are reacting, now later on you're like, why did I even feel like that? So you're even feeling guilty and shame because of how you reacted before. And so that becomes another whole roller coaster. So you find that you're moving through life, but you're having so many emotions to deal with. And some of these, some causes could be other things, but most of it is linked to trauma. Some of the things that we have experienced that has caused us to be the way we are, and we find difficulty coping up in our emotions. Another place where childhood trauma affects us is in our romantic relationships, and not just romantic relationships, but also workplace relationships and all of that. And this is where you find that no matter how much this person loves you and they're available for you, you find you have this uncontrolled fear of abandonment, where you're feeling like, oh, this person is going to abandon me. Any slight mistake, as simple as someone just maybe not picking up your call. You find yourself in this place where you're like, this person now wants to leave me. He has decided that now he doesn't want to stay with me, or she has decided she doesn't want to stay with me. And to another person who had maybe a safe place to express their emotions right from childhood, we'd be like, okay, maybe he's just busy, or maybe she's just busy, she's going to call me back. You see how that shows up? And of course, now this is also coupled up with trust issues, where you find that no matter how much this particular person has shown you that you can trust them, you find yourself not trusting them. And you are on their phone trying to check what they are doing, or akikwambia ameenda mahali, you have to like follow them or ask someone to check up on them and all of that, and it becomes a whole roller coaster, and it affects you as a person, and it also starts to affect your relationship. And most times the relationship doesn't work out because the person feels, how am I going to be surviving in such an environment where everything I'm being criticized about, And then, of course, another one that is very, very common is people pleasing. You find yourself that you believe that I have to do something to be wanted, And if I don't do anything, I would not be wanted in this particular place. You get what I'm saying? Like you even when people walk on you, even at work, you are being given ile kazi yenye, it's not even in your JD. And you're just like, I have to do this so that I can be accepted in this workplace. I have to do this so that my colleagues can accept me. Or even in relationships, you are tolerating abuse and the things that really I shouldn't be going through this. But you feel, unless I do this, unless I tolerate this, that's the only time I'm going to be accepted. But I'm here to tell you, no, it doesn't have to be like that. No, you can be yourself, and there are people who will love you just as you are. Okay, so don't find yourself in the people pleasing, And it's not only safe when you do something to people. There are people who will accept you without you having to give anything, and those people are there. And I know maybe you've experienced a lot of betrayal from, all the way from, palatini, from, your family, maybe a lot of, comparison, blamings and all of that. You grew up just being like, you know what? For me to be able to fit in this particular place, I must do something. And then we have where you find yourself being emotionally unavailable to the person that you are with or your spouse, because you believe that emotional vulnerability is dangerous. I cannot be myself. I cannot express myself. Because sometimes you may even find yourself saying, why are you being so soft? Why should I be so soft? I'm supposed to be tough. For the men where they have to keep on thinking that I have to be strong. I cannot cry. I cannot do this. I cannot express it. Even as simple as telling someone that you love them, you're just like, no, I won't tell them. See, unaona, and it affects your relationship. And the other person just gets to go to a place and they're like, you know what, I don't even understand you. I don't know if you love me in this relationship and all of that. And they get to a place where they decide, you know what, I don't think I can do this. Or if they stay and they're not comfortable. But really, is that what you want in your relationship or in your marriage? Is this where you want your partner to be around you and you love them deeply, but they don't know if you love them? Maybe you show with, moments here and there, but maybe what they want is just to hear you say it. And no matter what their love language is, don't say at their love language is not words of affirmation. No, even if that is not like their love language, everybody loves all the 5 love languages. It's just that we have the primary, the secondary, and the others follow. Yeah, so this is it about our romantic relationships. And as I've mentioned, we also have, the workplace, how these experiences show up in our workplaces. And in our workplaces, this is where you may have tendencies of perfectionism, where you believe that there is no room for mistakes. I cannot dare make any mistake here. And not because that your work is so delicate. No, it's just that you believe that, if I make any mistake, I am out of this particular place. Or if I make any mistake, my boss will just shout at me and will not accept me at all. And then we have fear of authority, where you see your boss or your supervisor or your manager as your parents. This is if you grew up with parents who are overly critical. And so you find yourself saying that, if I say this parent is going to, this particular boss is going to be, going to punish me in a very harsh way, the way that your parents did. And then you may also find yourself overworking, where you are doing everything for everybody, just because you believe that if I do this, I will be accepted, I will be promoted. And maybe you've done this over the years and nothing has ever happened, because those two wounds that you're trying to heal inside, people can see them. They may not have the language to it, but they can see them and they can tell that, so this person is just trying to be, he's just trying to, mask behind work. Yeah. And then now, of course, we have difficulty in speaking up because you believe I shouldn't speak up, because you spoke up when in childhood and, you were dismissed. And so you decided, you know what, I cannot speak up. If anything is wrong, if I'm given even a role that is not my JD, it is okay, I will accept. Yeah. So that is it about now the workplace and how our childhood traumas, our traumas that we've gone through show up in our workplaces. But this is just to put language to what we have been experiencing, what you have been feeling. And it's not to say that it is the end. It is not the end. I love to say that awareness is the beginning of healing. Now that you know, because as I was going through this, maybe you are seeing yourself in quite a number of them, or maybe even all of them. And you are like, you know what, hapo kwa romantic relationships, I'm there. Hapo kwa workplace, hapo kwa emotional dysregulation, I'm there. Maybe in everything. But healing is possible. Now that you know, what do we do now? Do we just stay and say like, mimi yangu ni childhood trauma, and then now you just stay? We don't do that. And I'm just going to be sharing a few of the things that you can do right from where you are. And then of course now there's a part where you have to depend on other people to help you. And just to appreciate our hosts here, you can see we're in a beautiful place. They are Havon Suites, located in Westlands. I will attach their details below, and you can be able to contact them if you need a stay around Westlands. So let's look at healing and healing, childhood trauma. The first one is what we call reparenting. Reparenting is where you sit down and give yourself what you did not receive as a child. Ask yourself, what could a responsible parent or what could a loving parent have done to me? And you start to give yourself that. This could be like speaking kindly to yourself. Sikujiambia wewe ni mjinga, wewe ni nini, speak kindly to yourself. Set boundaries. And not just setting boundaries, respect the boundaries that you have set. This may mean that you may lose some friends, and it is okay. You just be like, you know what, anyway, God bless you that you left, it's okay. Because you want to attract safe people, and then allow yourself to rest. Especially if you find yourself in the tendency of people pleasing and also overworking, it is okay to rest. And maybe you grew up being told, hapana huwezi pumzika, you cannot rest. You have to do that every time, even your body just shows how tired you are. No, it doesn't have to be like that. Okay, yeah, and then of course meet your own emotional needs. If you feel you want to cry, please cry. If you feel you really just need to just have a nice kujipeleka tu outing just to feel nice, please do it for yourself. And then of course this couples up with what we call journaling, where you start to write down. And in journaling is where it's like you are taking your thoughts out and putting them somewhere. And this helps you to understand even yourself better. And this is where you sit down and say, what triggers me the most? At work, in my relationship, when someone says this, what childhood memories come up? And you can be able to track what these experiences, some of these heavy emotions, what are they attached to when it comes to my childhood? Okay, so kindly do a lot of journaling, and then of course extend a lot of self-compassion to yourself. Extend grace to yourself. If you find yourself relapsing, it's okay. You fall and you rise again. You don't just fall and you stay there, I try to heal now, ikaisha apana. And remember, it's not going to be just a tier one, a quick fix. And even when you go to therapy, which is the last one, where you go to see a professional, please do normalize seeking for help. Na therapy si ya wadosi, ama it's not a white man's thing. It's for everybody, and it is available everywhere. So I hope that this has been a blessing, and now you can put language to what you have experienced. I hope that this has blessed you, and I will see you in the next episode, where we get to unpack more of how our body expresses what we have been through, even if our mind did not pay attention to it. Thank you, and have a beautiful time. Bye-bye.